Hi and welcome back. So we're gonna start off today's video with fixing the little nick that was on top of the headstock right above the logo. I know that this might not be very interesting or fun, but this is a very good thing to know how to do. And you can fix a lot of guitars in a very simple way, and that's what I'm gonna show you. And then we're gonna fix the holes where the tuners went, because there's a bunch of weird gunk there that we need to remove. So let's get started and see what happens, okay? Awesome. So right here we have the little nick. I hope you can see it. And the first thing we're gonna do is simple. We're gonna take some super glue and we're just gonna put a tiny dab over it and fill that little nick up. I use a sharp object and I just move it around to make sure that it's covering the entire marked area, something like that. Now, an important thing to know is that I have the neck clamped down to a flat surface that is leveled, and that's important because you don't want the glue to start running anywhere. And now we're just going to leave this to dry. Don't spray accelerator or anything like that on it, because it's going to become milky if you do, and we don't want that. So let's just wait a little bit and I'll show you the next step once we're 100% sure that this has dried. It will only take a minute or two, so I'll be back soon. Okay, so now that the glue over this little mark has dried, I'm going to take a razor blade, and first I'm just going to gently cut away the top of the bubble, or not the bubble, but of the glue, to just make it somewhat leveled with the surrounding area. Something like that, maybe. And then I'm just gonna level it by scraping. And then we just scrape away and level it very gently. Take away thousands of a millimeter with every pass. Make it even. And then wet and dry sandpaper with some water on. And just smooth out this place and make it nice and even. Trying to feel the edge to make sure we keep everything feeling consistent. Something like that. I'm just gonna continue to move around in random directions for a little bit, and I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Okay, so now this area is all leveled, but you maybe can't see it, but this is shiny and this is dull. So I'm gonna take some buffing compound and I'm just gonna put a dab on, smear it out over the headstock like this, and we're gonna leave it there for just a couple of seconds, maybe closer to half a minute, 30 seconds, something like that. I don't know. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take this tissue paper and I'm just gonna remove some of it because it's a little bit too much, I feel. And in my drill I have a wire wheel, but it's a soft padded wheel. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is just go over it slowly, back and forth, and the heat and friction is gonna polish the surface. And then I'm gonna take and clean everything up and just try to remove as much of the remaining grease and just clean it up. And I put some force into this movement that I do right now because that polishes it up even further. And I like to use my hand as well, just the bare skin to clean it up. Now if I take it off, hopefully now you can see that not only is the mark gone, but we have the reflection back. Okay, so next step is that there is a lot of gunk in these holes. And thing is, if you put polishing compound on a guitar and you leave it in holes, which they often do on inexpensive guitars, and then they put the tuners in and that compound gets into the tuners can actually start to rust because there's a bunch of crummy things on them. So if you look at this tuner, you can see how it's covered in this weird gunk and rust, and it's actually just old polishing compound that should have been removed. That was never removed. So I'm gonna take my drill and I'm gonna go slowly, and I'm just gonna slowly use a step bit to clean them up. Okay, so I found a faster and easier way, and that is a wire wheel on a Dremel. And so I'm just gonna go at a very slow speed, and I'm just going in and through the hole and going around, and all the gunk will disappear in just a couple of seconds. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. And then we go from the back as well. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna do in this video is I'm just gonna mix up some epoxy, and I'm just gonna put it on a dowel, and then I'm gonna take this piece here and I'm just gonna force it into this hole here and plug it up, something like that. Push it in all the way. And you might be wondering why I'm doing that, and it's because I don't like this hole, and also I am most certainly gonna remove this whole neck plate part and make it a what do you call it, a glued in neck. And you might ask why I would do that, and that's because I feel like that's just a part of what an SG is. Like, an SG doesn't have a bolt-on neck, and it doesn't really matter just doesn't really matter to me if it's a cheap guitar or not. It's just supposed to not have a glued in neck. So I'm just gonna remove that, take some of the epoxy that I left and smear it over to fill in all the gaps, and then I'm just gonna leave this blob here to be absorbed by the end grain of this plug. Leave it to dry overnight, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. If you have any questions, write comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care now. Bye bye.